Hello and welcome everyone to CompetePierre. Today, for our first CI profile, I have with me a great guest, Jay Nakagawa, Director of Competitive Intelligence for Dell Technologies, leading a team of over 20 CI specialists and supporting over 50,000 CI users against the competition for their company. Jay, welcome and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Pierre. Always good to see you.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, it's impressive when, as I said, that you have such a large CI team and you support such a large crowd. But I wanted to understand first, if we go back in time, when did you get started in CI?
That's a fair question. There's actually a two-part answer. For the bulk of my career, 23 years, I was a product manager.
Oh, okay.
And as a product manager, probably 70% of your job is dealing with competition. So from that standpoint, I had been doing competition long before I took over the competitive intelligence function at Dell. Since I've been at Dell, it's been 13 years, so you could say it's 36 years in total. I know I was a young man when I started. Look at me now. Um, but certainly love the aspects of competitive intelligence, having to think through what the competition is doing. And frankly, one of the best things about the job is I have no 2 days which are exactly alike.
Yeah, and so when you started in CI, did you start it right away as like team lead, or were you an individual contributor?
For as the CI function,
Yes. Yeah.
it was a small team at Dell Technologies, of course, as a product manager, an individual contributor. But at Dell and prior with EMC, it was a small team. It was three of us. We had a fourth person, but they were on leave. And then we built out the team from there. Of course, you were an integral part of that as we grew.
I need to disclose that you were the one that got me into CI actually, and yeah, I remember that. And so I remember when I joined your team, yeah, it was like a handful of us. But how did you grow from like 3, 4 people to a team of over 20 CI specialists?
So that's a question actually, and it really speaks to credibility.
Mhm.
So one of the things, as a former chairman of Skip,
Mhm.
I used to get a lot of questions along those lines. How do you establish credibility? How do you grow your organization? And the reality is, it really depends on the organization. So there's something out there from the Global Alliances and Intelligence Alliances, the GIA. It's a 2010 study, but basically shows how a company grows from being very immature with one or two people and being kind of an informal function to the far end of being more like futurists. And the fact is, while you may have aspirations to become world class futurists and predictive in nature, your organization may not be ready for that. So you have to really ask the question, what is the organization capable of handling in terms of resources, in terms of headcount, and in terms of the goal of the organization? For us, as we grew, we established credibility. So you may remember from your days with me, we started taking information out of the win-loss data from our CRM. We started manipulating that, and we did quarterly reports. The great thing about that is it established credibility with the executives right away, whether it be product executives, business executives, or sales. They could see the trending that was going on. And so it's really about creating value every step of the way. And as you develop that value, you request additional resources, that's a good time because you've now proven your value.
Yeah.
You're able to show the return on investment on the CI function. And so it gives you the right, now earned the right to expand your operations.
Yeah, and that's a very good point because talking with other, CI people that are not as strategic as you, the one mistake I see many of them do is actually spend a lot of their time just with the field people, with the sales people, with the field marketing. And it's great, but that's to your point. That's not the people that are going to support you and help you grow your team. They're not the one that are going to give you the budget, that are going to give you the headcount. So yeah, working, your more executive decision makers, that's the way to build it. That's fantastic. And
Yeah, but if you
yeah,
if you do it this way, you establish credibility, show that you're capable of delivering things of value. And so when it goes time to say, hey, I need additional headcount for these functions, you're more likely to get a yes answer than a no answer because you've already been able to establish and prove your worth as a group.
yeah. I do agree. Like, yeah, put a figure on your impact. Put a dollar number on the impact you have and how much more you could do with one more headcount, I guess. And and so talking about that into like growing your team, building that credibility. What has been the best decision you've made in your CI career that helped you grow your team, grow your career?
Uh, really good question. For me personally, there's a company out there called the Academy of Competitive Intelligence,
Yeah,
ACI. And ACI was founded in, I think it was 1996, by a guy named Ben Gilad.
yeah,
And Ben is a former professor at Rutgers University. He started the academy, and then a few years later, Jan Herring, who's also one of the co-founders of the CI practice, and Leonard Fold joined Ben at the academy. And really, what the academy does, for those of you who are interested, it's academyci.com. What they do is they provide formalized training on how to be a CI specialist. So it's not just about sales enablement. It's not just about product enablement. It's not about win-loss and battle cards. It's about the entire encompassing discipline on how do you analyze the market data, the
hmm
customer data, what the competition is doing was to go to market motion, and then being able to provide strategic insights and actionable items for your stakeholders. And so the thing is, even Gartner recognizes ACI as being the leader in the field. They've got over 12,000 alumni. So
Wow.
that's a lot of people, but it shows the power. And I actually wish I had gone to the academy for my training when I first started back in 2013. Because if I had done that, so the honest answer is I had been doing everything that they taught us, but I was doing it without a framework. So I would get to the answer, but if I had the frameworks and models that are taught at the academy, it would have made the job a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah. Save you from reinventing the wheel, I guess.
Exactly, every time.
And so, is it fair to assume that so you've taken it and you teach it because I've seen you teach it and seen your name? Is it fair to assume that now, anytime you have a new member, you send them into to that school, to that
Yes.
academy?
As a
Okay.
matter of fact, we just concluded the competitive marketing summit here in Denver this week.
Yeah.
And when I asked the people in the audience how many of them had been through ACI, it was about a third. And there were a lot of people who were very interested in talking with me between the breaks about when are the classes held, who teaches it, and it's taught by practitioners like you and I.
Mm.
Ben, of course, still teaches some of the classes, but not all of them. But it's beneficial to be able to be taught by a fellow practitioner where you can ask practical questions that relate to your job and your companies.
Yeah, I do agree. So you heard it, folks. If you're quite new to CI, don't try to figure out everything by yourself. Go to that academy because it will save you a ton of time on building a strategic thinking framework around CI and more than CI. So we'll put the link under the video. Yeah, that's great. Talking about strategic versus battlecry versus sales, in your opinion, what's the core responsibility? What's the core role and impact of a CI team for an organization?
So it depends. There are two parts to it, to
Yeah.
my answer. So, first of all, most CI functions get stuck on tactical because it's the easiest, it's short term, it's immediately focused on competition. Whereas for strategic requires a bit of mind shift. It's longer term. It's about the markets. It's about the global impact of what's going on. And it focuses on changing the future. Tactical, like many of us do today, is focused on changing now. How do I attack this competitor? How do I beat them in the field? And so it's a part of it's about a mind shift. As a matter of fact, my presentation at the summit was about how do you make that pivot? If you're a person doing tactical CI, how do you make that pivot? And this is based upon our experience at Dell. Over the last year, we've successfully made that pivot from only tactical and only sales support to now being a part of corporate strategy, uh, product direction, giving advice there. A lot of that came because I was able to put my entire team and entire organization of 38 people through the ACI training, which I just mentioned. As a result, everybody was on the same page. They all knew the same models. And so for the entire group to make that mind shift became possible. And so that's why now we have a new set of stakeholders. We're impacting strategic decisions that are looking off into the future and how do we change the future with our products, with our offerings, and with our services.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And again, it's a great, I think, tip for the newer CI people that are watching us. To your point, it's easy to just go tactical and just go do battle cards for salespeople and feel good at the end of the day. But to your point, we have to see it like a pyramid. You can do the tactical at the bottom. You say, helping make money today by helping sales guys in deals, but you need to go up. And to your point, for me, there's the middle ground, which is more like, kind of, I guess the bottom ground would be like operational with sales guys. Then you have tactical. I'm going to go help the marketing manager do a campaign. I'm going to help a product manager review a roadmap, blah, 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 which is one level a bit more midterm. But then to your point, there's the last one, the strategic. I'm going to support the execs, understand the market, understand the competition, understand the motions, the opportunities, the threats that we need to take action on. So yeah,
Well,
that's a great point. Yeah, I do agree.
yeah, and frankly, Pierre, I mean, if you remember, like I think you've been through ACI training. There are models like the Porter Five Forces, and you don't go and tell an executive, "I'm going to show you a Porter model," because they're gonna go blank. They're going to be like, "Yeah, I don't want to hear this."
Yeah.
If you show them the model and you fill in the blanks, like what are the emerging threats, what are the substitutes for our products and offerings, when you show it graphically like that, then they understand. And for a lot of people, even at the upper levels of business, many of them haven't seen it graphically displayed that way. So when you show it from the competitor's perspective, how they view the market, the customers, their products, people pay attention because they're going like, I haven't seen this before.
Yeah. Yeah. Give them information and then tell them what to do with it. Tell them, yeah, we need to react or not, and this is what I recommend. Yeah, definitely. That's how you build the credibility with the execs. Yes. Um, and yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. The thing that I'm really impressed is you have the biggest CI team I can think of, over 20. So tell us, how does a CI team leader successfully make such a large team, run smoothly and support such a large organization?
Okay. We do have a big team, and I think that's unusual for the
Yeah.
technical world. If you go to other places like pharma, it's very common because there's so much going on in that, or life sciences, they have huge teams. But as far as taking a team and getting them all on the same page, it's really about being clear with your communications. So we set goals, we set objectives, we check in periodically. Having been a part of my team, I'm not a micromanager.
Yeah.
I don't micromanage my team members. But what I have to do as a leader then is be very explicit about what the goal looks like and what the time frame we need to get there. It's up to them to go and make it happen. If they need if they have problems, not if they need problems. If they have problems, they can come to me and I can help alleviate those problems and move things around in terms of roadblocks that might get in the way. But it's really about effective communication, making sure everybody is saying, when I say 1, 2, 3, they have to be able to say 1, 2, 3 back at me, not 1, 6, 8. Because if they say 1, 6, 8, you're not on the same page.
So it's laying, if I get it correctly, is clearly laying out the CI strategy for each one
Yes.
of them and showing them how they're going to be part of it. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And how do you even recruit? Like, if you have such a large team, I guess, you have to recruit probably a bit, quite frequently with turnover or whatever, or growth. Like, how do you
Actually,
keep finding
actually, my
people?
my turnover is less than 5% annually.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. So,
Very low turnover, which helps.
so,
And we'll get to the whole idea of servant leadership later on. But I hire in a very odd manner. And my criteria for hiring people, and you fit the profile well as well, which is you have to have a insatiable appetite for knowledge. You're always curious about things, always want to learn. And that's one of the hallmarks of people I hire. The next thing is you have to have a great work ethic. So if you have a great work ethic, you're willing to dig in deep and look beyond the obvious. Because as you know, Pierre, a lot of the answers are not on the surface level. It
yeah.
requires digging deep, going beyond the traditional sources. And so if you have that ability, insatiable appetite, if you have a good work ethic, and you have the ability to look beyond the obvious, I can train you with what you need to know. But if you don't have a good work ethic, if you don't have the ability to look beyond the obvious, and if you don't have that insatiable appetite, you're not going to make it. because those are innate things within the team member and the person that makes them succeed. They succeed because of those attributes. So I had a lady on the team, and I won't mention her name, but she came to us from Kroger, and Kroger's a grocery store chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, I said, so what do you know about high tech? And she said, I use Windows for my
Okay.
daily job. But she had all the other qualities, and those are the qualities that make a person that we hire invaluable. Because we could teach them the techniques, we could teach them how to look at the data, we could teach them how to find things. But if they don't have those other soft skills, if you will, it doesn't work very well.
Yeah. And so, I mean, 5%, turnover rate, it's crazy low. Any tip on how you keep people, loyal, excited to stay, motivated over time? What's your secret recipe, the Nakagawa recipe, if I may ask, and if you can share?
Sure, absolutely. So the whole thing is really revolving around having a servant leadership mindset.
Hmm.
And so my job as a leader or manager of a team is to help enable the team members to get their job done. So I'm here to serve them. They aren't here to serve me. Um, so in addition to yourself, I've had other team members over the years who I've promoted out of our organization because they had career aspirations. And part of the job, frankly, Pierre, is as a manager, our job is to help take a person, give them skill sets, have them mature into their job. But at some point, our job as managers is to move them on into their career and get them moving on so that they can do other things and really be fruitful in what they want to accomplish out of life. And so part of it is helping the team member be happy and successful. That means being flexible with them, understanding them at a personal level, but also knowing when is the time to help push them on to their next career position.
I can testify of that actually. I've been there with you myself. So yeah, I can say people if yeah that is true. That worked. I appreciate that, Jay. So I mean that's great to hear because yeah, a lot of us aspire to growing our CI team and having such an army, if I may say. But the other thing that is crazy is that your team serves over 50,000 salespeople that use your CI. How do you make it work? How do you keep people served properly, happy, satisfied with your CI, and how do you keep having an impact at such a scale?
So one of the challenges I was presented when I first started the team, there are three of us, and some of the senior directors at EMC were saying, well, there's three people. How are you going to scale to meet 1,500 back at that point? And the fact is, unless you get the basics right, which is, am I creating the right content? Is
Hmm.
it being used? Is it being effective? Just throwing technology at the problem only makes it fail faster because you're not really solving the basic problem. But once you get the basics right, you're delivering the right content, the right advice, and the right insights to your stakeholder. Then you start looking at technology and saying, how can I scale? And we have some dedicated program managers on our team who help make sure some of our tools like Clue are running well. They actually help shepherd our team to make sure we're getting the content updated in a timely business in a timely manner with the right content. And we don't let content get older than 1 quarter. That's by design because, as you know, old information is worse than no information.
Oh
And so
yes.
it's really about making sure that we're able to provide timely updates and keep that so that the field can sell with confidence, knowing the information is correct. But you said 50,000 stakeholders; those are just sales. We also service product management and engineering and product marketing. So the 50,000 is not inclusive of those other groups.
Wow. Does that include just internal employees, or these 50,000 include non-Dell technology employees that still need your help?
The 50,000 includes not only our direct sellers, but also our partner community.
Wow. Which are even one, step further away from you because you don't have direct necessarily relationship with them.
Right,
Wow.
right.
Let me ask you. So, do you have
Sure.
any secret way, any top way to make sure that at that scale, your 50,000 people get the right information at the right time? Or that, let me rephrase that the right people within them get the right information at the right time. How do you make that happen?
So it can't be done by us alone. In the
Mm-hmm.
case of sales, we have a lot of sales leaders. So we have everybody from the top down, our EVP of sales, to his senior vice presidents, to the vice presidents. They all can see the statistics on what their teams are using. And salespeople are competitive with each other by nature.
Yeah.
And so by providing reports to them on who's using
Mm.
tools like our Clue portal, they can kind of see what's going on. And we can also, so by being competitive, they're going to say, well, I have 42% as an example of my people using Clue, and my other sales VP over there who I compete with organizationally with my career has 64%. By that very nature, they're going to try and increase that usage. And that also applies to the partner community.
Mm.
We have statistics that show people who use our portal are more successful than those that don't. These are public information, so I don't mind disclosing it. We have proof that, and we've collected this data over the last 7 years plus, so we know that's directionally correct. People who use our information portal close 3 times more deals than the non-user. They close deals 18 to 21 days sooner than the non-user. And their average deal sizes are $50,000 larger.
Mm.
So if you're a partner or if you're a direct seller, you're going to want to retire quota sooner. That's one way to do it. Is leverage the tools, leverage the information, leverage us. We're not here to just provide information. We also provide training. We provide guidance. We do brainstorming at the beginning of a campaign. And so we're intimately involved through the sales process. But that's not the only thing. As I mentioned, we're doing shifting more towards strategy now.
Yeah. And so I guess the way to serve people the right information at the right time is the Clue platform you mentioned. So that's where they can
Yes.
go and just pick what they need when they need it and move on.
But we're also doing things like we're starting to leverage generative AI to complement the
Okay.
Clue platform. And it's interesting. I mentioned I was at the Competitive Marketing Summit, and I was talking with a guy, George Trujillo, who's if you're doing Gen AI stuff, reach out to George. He's a great guy. He's doing a lot with Gen AI and data governance, as an example. And there's an old saying in the industry, which is, and I asked George over lunch, I said, I'm going to tell you a statement. Tell me if it's true or not. And the statement is, if you torture the data long enough, it will confess to anything. And George was, he caught off guard. And he got this big grin. He goes, 1,000%. Because data isn't clean. And so data by that nature is unreliable, even if you're putting it through a Gen AI platform, and you could choose the one they want. You have to worry about hallucinations. You have to worry about conflicting data. You have to worry about, are the heuristics giving you good advice or not? And it's far from simple. I mean,
Yeah.
this is going to be a multi-year journey for everybody. But I think anybody who doesn't start on it now will find themselves at a disadvantage.
Yeah. So let's jump into that actually. First of all, since you've started, 13 years ago in proper CI, how has the CI industry changed? What's the main thing that you've noticed that today this is so different from 13 years ago?
So John McLaughlin, who's the former acting director of the CIA, has a paper out there, and he basically put up a few points that are important. One is that the questions we're being asked are focused on the future, not the present.
Okay.
Number two, we're always being asked to provide answers, not guesses, but they want answers based on incomplete information. And number three, the information could be misdirected, could be dirty, it could be all sorts of hygiene issues with that data. Those problems do not go away with generative AI. As a matter of fact, they're magnified and intensified because people are assuming, and I think you and I both know people within organizations who are believing that the data is good. And so we have to be very careful not to become dependent on the data. It can give some really good guidance. It can give some really good insight. But unless you verify, so it's the old trust but verify, right? If you don't verify that the data is good, that the advice is good, then you can end up in trouble.
Yeah, that's something you
So
mentioned when we talked a bit before. Is like you see that there is more and more bad data. That's what I remember. That's what you said when we talked last week or so. Uh, so yeah, and it gets exacerbated now with all the
yeah,
tools. So how do you handle that, increasing amount of bad data? How do you make sure it's not becoming a problem for your team?
it's really tough. There's
Yeah.
an acronym some that goes something like human. It's a human feedback loop with real time in AI. You really have to leverage that human feedback loop because we are generative is AI generating a lot of potentially bad data very quickly. So the advantage is it could do it much quicker, but without the human CI practitioner reviewing the data, verifying it's good or not, is just garbage. So having the human feedback in the loop, you and I, your team, my team, is important to review the advice that the AI is giving, because otherwise it could be used by a salesperson, a product manager, a product marketer, and they could be led down the road, and that can end up with all sorts of bad things, including litigation if false claims are made.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, your point is like the only way to do it is to make sure that the bad data doesn't impact you. Is like, yeah, use the tools, but still have someone at the last step that before you share it with execs or sales, like that makes sure it makes sense and it's correct. So yeah,
Exactly.
trust by verifying. Yeah, and we've been talking a bit about AI for the last few questions. So is that what you see as the major disruptor of our CI industry today?
It will be a disruptor whether you want it to be or not.
Okay.
So if you think about product marketing people, so I can't give exact details, but even for us being a very large, $95 billion company,
Mm.
it would take us literally months to create collateral and get it out. By leveraging AI today, and AI is very good at some things, good at programming, good at contracts, good at marketing collateral, because those all follow a very defined formula. English structure, programming structure, contracts are structured, you have to have sections and everything in there. If you have something like marketing, which is structured, you can actually build your collateral in about a third of the time that you have in the past. And so generative AI is leveling the landscape out there from that standpoint, which is why I made the comment earlier about if you are using AI, it levels the playing field and everybody will be on the same level. If you're not using it, though, you're going to find yourself at a disadvantage because you won't be able to move at the speed everybody else is. You won't be able to compete at the speed everybody else is, and you'll fall behind.
So yeah, that's AI is the new thing, and you're already like trying to use it at your company, so to create content. Are you, or let me ask that: how do you plan, or how do you think people should use AI in CI today? What should they use it for? You mentioned create content faster. What else do you think we should be looking at?
From a competitive intelligence
Yeah.
standpoint, I tend to think of AI as being Google on steroids. It can get you the
Yeah.
information. It's much more structured. It can help get it to you much faster because of the inference engines out there and what it's looking at. But again, you want to verify that the information it gets for you is correct.
Mm.
So as a CI research tool, it can get you a lot of information. But again, you're going to want to verify. And I think for a lot of people, I've seen this becoming the practice in the industry. They'll use two or three different AI engines to see if they are consistent with what they're reporting back. So it might be Gemini, it might be Chat GPT, and it might be Copilot. It could be Bard, it could be whatever you want. But if you use multiple sources, you can start cross-referencing and seeing where the disparities are. It's those areas of disparity where you really want to focus.
Yeah. So I like the idea of cross-checking CI through different AI. That's something. That's very interesting. Yeah.
Well, because AI, generative AI lies,
Yeah, yeah,
and it
but
doesn't know it's lying.
yeah, I didn't think about it. But that's what we anyway. That's a great point because actually that's what we do as we find information as CI people. We always say have
Mhm.
three sources of information that are separate, like one guy from here, one person from there, one website maybe. To your point, we should just do the same with AI. Like make sure you get the same result from three different AI, then you feel comfortable. That's brilliant. Um, Yeah, I know we're running a bit over time, Jay. So let me conclude with two questions for you. Number one,
Okay.
for newer CI professionals that are watching us and want, to learn from others, what's the best communities you recommend they would join?
So communities come and go. The ones that I think are most valuable to CI practitioners today is to join. So we've got a Discord page over there, and anybody who wants to reach out to me, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll send you a link. But we have a Discord community, which is, if you think about Slack channels, right? Discord was built in the gaming community, but we did that because it's also free. So anybody can join. There's over 100 people in there right now, and we've only been open for a month and a half. So we have a Discord community. People can ask questions. They can find mentors. They can ask what are good books to read. And I encourage all of you to join the Discord community. We have some great moderators in there. I'm hoping Pierre will join us as a moderator.
Yeah.
But there's some great people in there. You can go to the CI Fellows webpage. The CI Fellows used to be kind of a closed society. We are now in the process of opening up the Fellows to people who want to be members. And these are people like at this conference, we had 14 people there who are CI fellows, and they all have over 40 years of experience. So if you're a new practitioner, go and talk with somebody who's done it, because we've all made those mistakes. And hopefully we can keep younger practitioners from making those same mistakes. We can give advice. We don't charge anything. We're here as a community to help and support each other. And that's really the beauty of our community. So we've got the Discord, you have the CI fellows, there's a few other places that you could go to, but those are some of the really important ones. Clue has a free site called their Compete community. Go and talk to them, join, sign up. Again, all these things are free. They don't cost you anything, but we can help you avoid making mistakes, whether they be big mistakes or little mistakes. And that's really what we're here to do, is help you out.
That's great. So, and the Discord, which organization is it run by? Is it? Yeah, it's you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, does it have a name? Does the Discord have a name, or we'll drop it in the?
I'm going to switch over to here. It is called the Competitive Intelligence Community.
Okay, so I'll drop a link below the video for it, and then so yeah, this Discord, so your Discord, the CI fellows, yeah, to your point, very expert, a lot of experts, and then the Clue Compete, yeah, perfect. And
Yep.
to conclude, so you have a lot of experience behind you. If people, is it okay for people to contact you if they have questions, and if so, what are the topics you can help them with?
I've been doing this for a while, and so the areas I've tended to notice, which are really my strengths, are people who are trying to understand strategy. They're trying to understand, how do I develop a product strategy or a corporate strategy to beat the competition? How do I go about analyzing? I'm also on the faculty of ACI, so I teach and how to think differently about going after the competition. We have experts throughout these various areas, like Clue has some great win-loss people. The Discord community has people for, how to create battle cards and things like that. So there's a lot of great resources. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm
Yes.
sure Pierre will share my LinkedIn. And so if you want to, come and take a look at Discord, it's free. You don't have to stay, but you might say, hey, I've got a question. I hooked up somebody the other day with a mentor for win-loss, because he's in research and wanted to know how to do that job better. So
Well,
that's part of our job.
that's great. Folks, you heard it. If you have questions about how to become more strategic, not just tactical, please reach out to Jay. I'll put his LinkedIn in the below the video. And again, yeah, join the community, because if you have questions, just go to the communities and drop the question. People will come and help you. Generously, they will help. So, Jay, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it, and look forward to our next conversation.
Okay, thanks, Pierre. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.